Awesome to have you today, Alex. Um, Beam is one of my favorite projects, to be completely honest, because as people know, I only support proof of work. I really, steer towards fixed supply issuance. So those for me are like the two most important things. And yeah, welcome. Thank you for spending the time.
Hey, Dean. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad you like Beam, and we're very strong believers in both those principles that you mentioned. Proof of work, we don't believe in anything else, and also fixed supply. I think it's one of the more important features of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's the scarcity itself. If you're going to talk about a currency that you have to have faith in, and making those decisions early on, strengthens that faith. That faith versus making that decision later. So I applaud you on that. I also want to give big applause and big props to the recent donation to Grin. I know that there's both being Mimblewimble based. It's amazing that you're helping each other. What do you think? What's your motivation behind that donation?
Well, first of all, we are in good relationship with Green development team. Not with several. We're talking to some of the developers regularly, discussing some of the protocol issues or some possible problems and so on. So we have good professional relationship, and in general, the help that we provide, and it's significant, but it's not something huge, to talk about. But we donated 2 times towards security audits, and we believe that the more Mimblewimble protocol is tested and audited and developed as well, but specifically tested and audited, the better it is for both projects. Because if there is a problem with the protocol, then it's bad. And anyway, we want to help. We want to help as much as we can in developing things related to the protocol for good projects. And Grin obviously is a great project.
Yeah, and look, that philosophy could also exist, between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, or to a certain extent, Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, which they have a bit more of a cooperation. So that's why I think it's you deserve those props, because at the end of the day, these are different projects. Not everybody would see it the way you do.
Yeah, obviously there is certain competition, right? We have very different models, different emission, different philosophy. Grin is much more community oriented. We are, at least for now, much more centralized. But I think there is space for more than one, definitely.
Now, you said something that I love, that the way you said it. At least for now, we're centralized. What are your thoughts on that?
So we started as a company, raised funds, hired a team, built a team, and moved forward pretty fast. But we know that in this world of crypto, for a lot of reasons, it's not very good to be centralized. So now we have set up a Beam Foundation. Actually, that was the foundation that made the donation, not the Beam company that I'm the CEO of. So but right for now, it's still like more or less the same. But the foundation will be gradually taking over the control and the development. So in the beginning, the foundation will work together with the company and will use the funds it has to run the company. But with time, it will attract more and more outside developers. And the goal is that in several years from now, the company will not even need to help with the first layer development at all. And it will all be done by distributed developers. And then after some time, maybe the foundation will be able just to dissolve after it has built this community. So 3 steps: company first, then foundation, which by the way, the goal is that the foundation is run by an independent board that is not part of the team. I won't be on the foundation board. Beam CTO will not be on the foundation board. So it's other people that we want to attract, respected industry people to that board, and we will do that. And step 3 is that, the foundation is no more, or its role is very, very small.
And what would happen to the block reward emission? Would that also change, you think, as the foundation's role changes?
No, the reward. You cannot just change the reward, right?
No, I mean, if I'm correct, sorry for interrupting. If I'm correct, does a certain percentage goes to the foundation currently?
Yes, and so a certain. And specifically, 4% of all the emission in the first 5 years goes to the foundation. After 5 years, it stops. I mean,
I did not know.
The emission, this the 4%. So this whole founder's reward is working only in the first 5 years. After that, it just stops.
Goes away.
So
and then it acts like the other proof of work, Bitcoin, for example.
Yeah.
100%
After that,
of the reward
100% of the block reward will go to the miner. Right now, it's 80%.
No, and I think all of this makes sense. I mean, if you look at when Grin started and when Beam started, even though the projects have certain other structural differences like Rust versus C++ and other things, development has been faster on Beam. I think that's, you can't argue that. And ultimately, I'm a believer that you don't have to jump straight to decentralization. To be able to get into the world of decentralization, let's take baby steps, because jumping all the way over there, you're not going to be able to compete. You're not going to be able to innovate fast enough.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, a model where you have a funded team that does this thing, 24/7 can get to better results than having a team that is, distributed, not funded, and not incentivized. And then it's only people's enthusiasm and people move slower. But in the long run, I think we do want to get to this decentralized structure when there is no one body that can be attacked, or there's no one body that can become evil. But then the development will be much slower, which is probably fine when you have already built out, a lot of stuff.
Right.
And what was true for Bitcoin, people say, well, Bitcoin, doesn't have a CEO and it's a huge thing. Yeah, but it was, Bitcoin had this huge advantage of being the first ever, right? And it kind
and no
of
one knew about
the interest of all. So I mean, right now it's harder to just repeat the same thing, right? And attract, hundreds of developers and everyone everywhere. So now you need to move faster.
Yeah,
but eventually it's good to be decentralized. Absolutely.
I totally agree on that. And do you see that the company's interaction with Beam becomes more such maybe like a Blockstream is to Bitcoin, where it's building these layer 2 solutions?
Yes, eventually, this is what we're talking about. This is still what we want to do in some time. Yes, and we have a lot of ideas of what can be built and what businesses can be built on top of Beam. And so yes, so eventually the company, eventually the foundation will be responsible for layer 1, and the company will be doing stuff on top of layer 1.
And is there something currently like rootstock for Beam? Is there a smart contract?
No, not at the moment. We are planning some limited support, so there won't be like a full Turing complete smart contract support, or maybe there will be, but not in a distributed way, because Mimblewimble does not easily allow for that. So some of the idea, I mean, there will be certain smart contracts, some small primitives like time locked transactions, or which are already available now, or escrow, things like that can be done on chain. fuller smart contract functionality can be done by like off-chain, like Oracle-based model where there is like
Right.
a server or a federation of servers that are doing some calculations, but the network trusts them, so it won't be fully distributed like in Ethereum.
I love all
And it's
your
probably
answers,
not.
man. They're real. Like that's what I love about you, dude. And when you were talking here in Shanghai, same thing. I like that. You know, you're saying it as it is. You're not trying to sit here and sell, the all-encompassing dream. There's a specific function, and
Yeah.
big props to that. Because it's hard to be a CEO of a company and then also not try to promise everything under the sun. Staying realistic. So that deserves applause as well. I bring up Blockstream. I know that they've also commented on Mimblewimble before. Do you think that they're going to start getting involved in the protocol?
You never know. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's not easy to add it as as a second layer thing or a side chain, and I'm not sure it makes too much sense. We will see. A lot of people are talking about Mimblewimble and using it, but we haven't seen any existing chains add Mimblewimble yet. So the future will tell. I don't know.
Okay, so it's possible that one day maybe Bitcoin tries to incorporate Mimblewimble. It's in the realm of possibility, but it's definitely not something we're seeing on the horizon.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it makes sense for Bitcoin because Bitcoin will not switch to Mimblewimble, right? So we're talking. I mean, maybe it will, but it's really hard to believe
Unlikely.
because it will break so many things. So let's say it's not possible. Adding it as a side chain, maybe, but today we have atomic swaps between Bitcoin and Beam. So this is already kind of a side chain possibility, right? So I mean, not sure it makes sense to incorporate Mimblewimble into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is moving very slowly, and there is a good reason for that because if you in Bitcoin you can't afford to break things or to risk things because it's so big. So we'll see. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical Bitcoin will do Mimblewimble, but again, we'll see.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of discussion around it. I know that when Mimblewimble first came on the scene, a lot of people were postulating that might happen. But I agree that
Yeah.
as time passes, that becomes more and more unlikely. So, what do you envision the world being? 5 years from now, Beam exists. Does Bitcoin exist?
Yeah, obviously, Bitcoin will exist in 5 years from now, but privacy solutions will get more and more attention. Mimblewimble will get more attention, and it will grow as a protocol. There will be more projects with Mimblewimble. Actually, we see it now. I think now there are about 10 different forks, but
There's like 3 or 4 that matter.
Yeah. Right now, Mimblewimble, I think Grin and Beam are the projects that really matter. Maybe there will be more in the future, but definitely Mimblewimble will get more attention, more popularity because of its properties, right? It's in terms of feature set, it's very much like Bitcoin, just with privacy built in, and privacy gets more and more attention, and more people are talking about it and understanding why it's needed. On the other hand, more and more companies are doing all sorts of big data research on Bitcoin, removing the privacy altogether.
Right.
And as there is more and more usage of cryptocurrencies, there's more and more interest to peek into other people's wallets, and there will be more and more companies doing that, and people will value privacy more. And we are actually starting to work on a solution that will allow issuance of additional tokens or bridging of tokens like stablecoins to Beam, right? Because today, like the one of the most widely used things in crypto is stablecoins, right? And none of them has any privacy.
Yeah.
So we will bridge those stablecoins to Beam so that people can transact without compromising privacy. So in 5 years from now, Beam will be, as a currency, it will be hopefully bigger and more important, but also we will have this ecosystem of other tokens on our blockchain.
Will, you mentioned stable coins, and it's just on top of mind lately because of all of these countries having negative interest rates right now. The idea of a stable coin changes if I, the issuer, now have to pay on my cash reserves for my stable coin.
Yeah, I guess then it will be harder to make money off of it. But still, I think there's still, if you have a lot of money, there's still a way to make certain interest with very low risk.
It's interesting, when you start to look at how we're moving into this negative interest rate world. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, a stable coin. Wow, I can no longer make money on a stable coin. Now it's going to cost me money. Not saying that that's a use case that needs to exist or that changes anything about Mimblewimble or Beam. But it's an interesting discussion.
Then people might be willing to pay, right? People might be willing to pay to the stablecoin company, right? I might be willing to pay a certain premium for this privilege of using a stablecoin, right?
To have less volatility. Yeah. That's.
Dude.
So, if we have both Bitcoin and Beam and other Mimblewimble implementations 5 years from now, every day, I want to kind of understand how I'm jumping between the two. And there was a great conversation that I saw. Zuko was part of it, where basically they were discussing how long term you can't have a fully transparent currency like Bitcoin, and I understand that. I understand that there are going to be transactions that companies don't want other people to know. There has to be some level of secrecy, of privacy somewhere, and that inevitably there's going to either be a completely private coin, or there's going to be one in which a government has a back door into. But what I'm trying to understand is, where's Bitcoin's role in this? Does that ultimately become the massive settlement layer where banks are working with Bitcoin and we're using, Beam and other Mimblewimble implementations?
So Bitcoin being the leader will probably retain the status, and it might be the ultimate store of value. The digital gold that people don't transact that much. Like gold bullions today. People just keep them, and there aren't many transactions. You don't buy your groceries with gold. So it might be the same with Bitcoin. Right, we don't see too much transactions today. Too much economic activity. It's mostly financial, right? It's either speculation or store of value. All the cryptocurrencies, right? Yeah. Bitcoin being the most used for that. So it will probably remain like that in the future, with other currencies, and especially private currencies, taking bigger role in economic activities, in actual transactions for goods and services. And Bitcoin will remain this reserve currency, store of value thing.
Okay, that makes the most sense. That makes the most sense. And
all the others, by the way, it's not like people will not store their value in Beam or other currencies. They will,
of course,
but to a lesser extent, right? So Bitcoin, the same as today, we have gold, and then we have oil and silver, and
there's going to be that trade-off with friction and ease of use with security, right? Like, you're going to have a higher level of security with Bitcoin. It'll be like the Fort Knox, but you're going to have these huge fees. It'll be slow to move.
Yeah, Probably yes. Yeah, it's a good analogy with gold. Yeah, bigger fees, slow to move, not private, meaning that, I mean, if you just keep it, then you might hope for some privacy, or you might not even care if you're a state or something, some big organization. You can take care of your security, but you won't do day-to-day transactions to buy things
Now,
or run your business.
there's a new protocol that's been suggested for Bitcoin. I think it's called Erpal, or I don't know if you've seen it recently.
Not yet, no.
It would be in it would coincide with Dandelion, but you know what? I'll send it to you later then.
Okay.
And are you paying attention to the new Satoshi reveal that's about to happen?
Yeah, I received some information. Yeah, I need to read through that. So, what are your thoughts? Is it like another show for the public?
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, philosophically, let's just say for a second that this was the real person, right? I mean, that would just undo so much work.
Yeah.
The amount of work required to have stayed anonymous this long, and the value of being anonymous, not for the creator, but for Bitcoin itself. I think that it is unlikely to ever happen that the creator would willingly reveal himself or herself or themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So it's the age of false messiahs now.
Yeah, well, you know,
People want to make
it's a
some
great PR stunt.
noise.
It's a great PR stunt. You know,
Yeah, absolutely,
if you have
absolutely.
any more clicks, you know, you should just hint that that you're Satoshi for a few days, and everything will fly through the roof.
Yeah, actually, this email I received. I mean, there was like some media company. Yeah, part 1 is up. Yeah, it says Ivy McClemmer and Associates.
Yeah,
So whatever.
great PR, great PR. Okay, so this is for the Beam crew and community out there. When are we getting listed on Coinbase?
Well, we don't comment on exchanges. It will take some time. It will take some time. No comment on that.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I know that it's one of the ones that's under consideration in their eyes. But I had to throw it out there just so because I know that
Yeah,
they're all loving that.
patience. Yeah. So we need patience. Everything will come eventually.
I totally respect that. Alex, thank you so much for the time, man. This has been very enlightening. I think a lot of people don't realize how much is similar with the biggest of the coins, Bitcoin, being again that your proof of work, that your fixed supply, and ultimately that the privacy has been solved, the privacy and scalability with Mimblewimble. So keep it up, man, and really like everything that you guys are doing to move that protocol forward is extremely commendable.
Great, Dean. Thank you very much. Really great questions, great conversation. Thanks a lot.
Likewise, brother. Take care.
Yeah.